Grass Knot removes Ducklett from the field of play, and it is Shadow Lileep versus the world. Lileep gets the acid farm down. The opponent sends back out Chinchou. I'm not getting debuffed. I'm going to fire off the Ancient Power, wasting no time, removing them from the field of play. What is that third? The opponent enters the mirror. We've got a 2-1 shield advantage. You better believe the win con is full sending the nuke. Grass Knot going to be picking up that one-hit KO. GG's, and thanks for playing. Welcome back to the channel. Little Cup really isn't my thing, if I'm being honest. However, there's two reasons I played Little Cup. Firstly, it's one of the most accessible leagues ever. I spent all of about 100,000 Stardust to build this team, which is pretty cheap by Go Battle League standards. Secondly, the game state is absolutely horrendous, so why would I get stressed and open Great League when I can run a meta where Shadow Pokemon aren't here to take part, they are here to take over. Team building is nice and simple. We've got Ducklett in the lead position that essentially only has one real hard counter in this meta, and that is Chinchou. So with that in mind, I'm running double grass in the back. Both these grass types are phenomenal. Foongus on the Say switch is an absolute monster. There are so very few things that resist Astonish in the meta. You've got access to Body Slam and that Hail Mary Grass Knot. Lileep, much like Craydilly, has access to Acid and once again puts in so much work. I knew this team would be strong, but it definitely exceeded my expectations. I started around 2450 on Thursday, and after doing 2 days of battles, I reached a season high elo of 2660. And at that time, this was only 2 points off the global leaderboards. The bottom of the leaderboards at that time was 2662. I did intend to keep pushing with this team and try and hit expert. However, the issue is that no one's really playing this cup, especially at high elo. It took me 1 hour to do my next set, where I got 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw, so an even set. However, because every single battle was a massive down pair, I lost 18 elo and I essentially knocked the team on its head. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we lead the Duck into the Pumpkin, the opponent Say switch into the Leap, we fire off the Aerial Ace, force him chip nip action and then enter the mirror. I am going to respect a potential Grass Knot. If we correctly shield up the Grass Knot, we're going to be able to fully Acid Farm down. We invest a huge Protect Shield, get that Acid Farm down, leaving with a whole heap of residual energy good to go. Back out comes the Pumpkin, 1 Acid and the Ancient Power. Ancient Power hits for neutral, but in Little Cup, everything does a lot of damage, even when resisted. Lileep already at the next Ancient Power. The opponent invests to Protect Shield despite being at low health, and they're forced to dump energy. As we'd Acid Farm them down before they Astonish Farm us down, we now find ourselves in a fantastic spot, essentially in a 2 versus 1 scenario. I send back out Ducklett, the opponent pivots into their own Duck, and I send out Foongus. Whilst the wing attacks are hitting me for super effective, the Astonishes are actually keeping pace. I invest to Protect Shield, blocking up the Aerial Ace, throw 1 Astonish and the Body Slam. Grass Knot would be lethal, so Body Slam here does make sense, meaning the opponent can't overfarm and they'll be forced to dump their energy immediately. The opponent does exactly that. Aerial Ace removes the little mushroom from the field of play. Back out comes my own Duck with an energy. We're able to outpace to the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace from this range will be removing Ducklett from the field of play. Back out comes the Pumpkin. We wing attack farm down and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we found ourselves a mirror match. In Little Cup, there's not too many viable Pokemon. So what I've done personally is build all my Pokemon with an attack rate, meaning I've got a good chance of winning charge attack priority right off the bat. We full send the Brave Bird, picking up that one-hit KO. The opponent sends out Foongus, and here comes Lileep. Lileep gonna fire off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power gets little respect, and once again, we've almost removed 2 Pokemon from the field of play in less than 30 seconds. I correctly shield up the Grass Knot, the opponent not wanting to concede a farm down. Send out yet another Astonish user in the form of their Pumpkin, but Lileep are still not done. Gonna fire off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power forces a Protect Shield. I can just send out Ducklett here to absorb energy. The opponent can full send a Grass Knot if they want. Foul play probably wouldn't be lethal. Let's see what they want to do. They fire off the Grass Knot, picking up the knockout. I can send out my own Foongus. We're going to be able to tap, 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 Astonish farm down everything, and take that game. GG's that opponent. In the next battle, we've got our first sighted of PvPoke's #1 ranked pick, Skrelp. Skrelp's pretty good in this meta. It's got Acid, Aqua Tail, and Sludge Bomb, which is great coverage for the meta. I fire off the Aerial Ace, force myself an early shield advantage, and send out Foongus. The opponent farms well past the Sludge Bomb, which I will be respecting as it hits for neutral and a lot of neutral damage at that. The opponent bait with the Aqua Tail and then send out Dewpider. Nice to bait this thing out as Lileep isn't going to fancy the work. We force in the Grass Knot. Grass Knot goes unshielded. This is only a bubble beam, so we might actually be able to take back switch if we survive this and the bug bites. Unfortunately, unable to do that. We do actually survive, but they bug bite farm us down before we astonish farm them down. I send back out Ducklett, wing attack farm down. That Skrelp has residual energy, and this could be somewhat awkward. Back out comes Skrelp. I am going to respect the Sludge Bomb, and would you believe it, Jamie Finn gets baited twice, which is kind of brutal. This is only an Aqua Tail, which we should survive. We're now receiving the energy for the Aerial Ace, so I'm going to bank the Aerial Ace, make the pivot into Lileep, and look to get ahead in energy. The opponent sends out Ducklett. Ancient Power should be forcing the opponent's final protection. They're going to be forced to Brave Bird or reach Ancient Power number 2. Hopefully with a debuff defense, they now find themselves in Aerial Ace range as we got the move banked. The opponent falls in the Brave Bird. We fire off the Aerial Ace. Is this enough with a debuff defense? Despite being a shadow, it isn't enough to get the job done. We take 2 further wing attacks, meaning the opponent's going to acid farm me down. Before we wing attack farm them down, and this one does end in defeat. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see Binacle in the lead position. On paper, we're fully walled in this matchup. It's nowhere near as bad as you might think, as the opponent is running Mud Slap, which is double resisted, as we are not only a water type, but also a flyer. We invest a Protect Shield, blocking up the Ancient Power, fire off 4 wing attacks and the Brave Bird. Brave Bird is resisted, but does force my Protect Shield back. We then farm up, look to make the catch onto Foongus, saving Ducklett at near full health. My Foongus save switch is answered by Ducklett. We're just going to full turn the Grass Knot, looking to do maximum damage, recognising we're only reaching 1 move. Grass Knot almost picks up the 1-hit KO, and the opponent opts to dump energy. Ducklett removes me from the field of play, but this just sets up another scenario where Ducklett can come in again, wing attack farm down, and look to Brave Bird that Binacle once again. Ducklett gets that farm down, the opponent reveal they've got a Tentacle in the back. We're going to force in the Brave Bird, looking to force the final protection or pick up that 1-hit KO. We're able to force the final protection and a leap hits the field of play. Tentacles, kind of a guessing game. Are they on Water Pulse or Bubble Beam? I call her on Bubble Beam. They hit me with a Water Pulse that lands for so much damage. The opponent then makes a catch onto Binacle, but we needed to knock this thing out anyway. Ancient Power does exactly that. We get the boost, and a leap is going to clean up. Reaching Ancient Power number 2, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. In the next battle, we are running it back, so we're going to do exactly the same as we did last time. We are going to respect an Ancient Power. I think most people do full send it here, but I did get baited a few times. Let's see if this is a master baiter. The opponent full send the Ancient Power, once again 4 wing attacks and the Brave Bird. Some people like to call this thinking they resist everything when they certainly don't. We're forced to protection and once again look to make the pivot, sneaking the Astonish and making the catch. My poor little mushroom instantly put below half health with the Ancient Power, and once again we bait Ducklett onto the field of play. We're going to full send the Grass Knot, looking to do maximum damage. Grass Knot puts them into the red health range, and we're able to Astonish farm down. Out comes Tentacle. So this is the same team we saw last time. I've got no idea whose team this is, but someone must have put a video out. I'll be honest, I've watched 0 Little Cup whatsoever. Last battle I hit with a Water Pulse, but it smells like a Bubble Beam. They actually fire off a Wrap, but that's still fine. Wrap is a normal type charge move, and Rock, of course, does resist normal type damage. I fire off the Grass Knot, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. You've got to throw something that isn't a Wrap or Bubble Beam trainer. Let's see what they do. They fire off the Wrap. We call the opponent's going to try to snipe. They do exactly that. We send out Ducklett, and the opponent concedes the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Wooper in the lead. A very nice lead for me. We should fully wall them. Well, actually, they can run Body Slam. Body Slam would hit for neutral, but this Ducklett is very, very bulky. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. I should say it's bulky by Little Cup standards, especially for a Shadow Pokemon. The opponent pivots into Seal. We tank a charge move, bank our energy, and send out Lileep. We correctly shield up the Icy Wind. I'm then going to overfarm. Falls in the Grass Knot. As at -1, I'm not sure Ancient Power will get the job done. Grass Knot removes Seal from the field of play. If Wooper returns, they're going to be forced to dump energy. As I've already seen Grass Knot number 1, they probably don't fancy tanking another one. The opponent with that in mind, send out Ducklett, and that is more than fine for me. We're going to fire off the Ancient Power, forcing the opponent's first protection. The opponent is going to dump their energy. Lileep has done its job. We can just let it go down, send out Ducklett into the mirror with a huge energy lead, and keep our Foongus for that Wooper. I'm going to go for the Aerial Ace bait. The opponent kind of obliged to shield this, and they do exactly that. We're then going to reach the Brave Bird on the charge attack priority. Jamie Finn is the best master bait in the world. Get that opposing duck off my screen. The opponent sends out Wooper, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see Chinchou in the lead position. A dreadful lead, but two very good answers in the back. We say switch into Foongus. The opponent opts to stay in, and look at the astonished damage go. The opponent falls into Thunderbolt. They're supposed to be resisted, but didn't look all that resisted if I'm being brutally honest. The opponent then enters the mirror. We fire off the body slam. We are doubled up. This second body slam won't quite be lethal, but will leave them low. We're able to obtain ourselves shield advantage in the mid-game matchup. I'm going to send back out Ducklett. The opponent can full send a Grass Knot, which will pick up the one-hit KO, but there's really no point in shielding this. There's no Chinchou will be returning. We're going to put all on Lileep. The opponent full send the Grass Knot, picking up that one-hit KO, and it's Lileep versus the world. Lileep hits the field of play, gets the acid farm down, back out comes Chinchou. I waste no time. I fire off the Ancient Power before the opponent very annoyingly debuff me. Ancient Power picks up the knockout, and out comes an opposing Lileep. It's in the two-shield scenario, zero reason debate. We full send the Grass Knot. Grass Knot will be picking up that one-hit KO, and Lileep picks up the full sweep. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Ducklett into Foongus. The opponent fire off an Astonish, and then send out Skrelp. We're going to go for some chipping action, fire off the Aerial Ace, and then make the pivot into our Foongus. Aerial Ace forced the Protect Shield, and Foongus hits the field of play. I really hope the opponent doesn't Aqua Tail bait me like a savage. The opponent does indeed. Fire off the Aqua Tail. We're just going to fire off one Astonish and the Body Slam, and look to get this thing out of here. Body Slam hits for neutral, down goes Skrelp, and the opponent re-enters the mirror. As I said previously, none of these Pokemon got PvP IVs. They've all got attack weight. The opponent plays the CMP, so they do not win. Shout out the GOAT, Home Slice Henry for that quote. And Body Slam rocks the opposing Foongus into the red health range. This meta is really simple. Ducklett plus a grass type is essentially the best core you can run. We've got a 2 versus 1 scenario. The opponent happens to have something that claps our Duck in the back. We've got something that claps this Chinchou in the form of our Lileep. We are debuffed, but in the Little Cup, no amount of debuffs ever saving a War type from a Grass Knot. We fire off the Grass Knot, force the opponent's final Protect Shield. We would survive this Bubble Beam, but I've got a shield. I may as well use it. We're going to shield up the next Bubble Beam, fire off the Grass Knot. You can see the Acids, I've already put them below half health. Grass Knot easily going to pick up that one-hit KO. Foongus is energized with hardly any HP. The opponent recognise they can't win the battle, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see another Barnacle in the lead position. This opponent say no thank you, say switch into Ducklett. I send out my own Lileep, but that switch was pretty slow to be honest. Jamie Finn, you've got to do better, buddy. We're going to shield up the Aerial Ace. I'm going to fire off the Ancient Power. The opponent is still going to need to Brave Bird to pick up the knockout if they invest this Protect Shield. This isn't quite Aerial Ace range yet. Aerial Ace does around 45%. We should survive on fractional HP. I trust my IVs, and that trust comes in clutch. We're able to survive, reaching the Ancient Power. Ancient Power force the final protection. The opponent is able to wing attack farm me down. I send out Ducklett here. I think I should try and throw on CMP, but I'm actually going to call this just an Aerial Ace. The opponent actually falls in the Brave Bird, and it's now Foongus versus the world. Foongus hits the field of play, gets the Astonish farm down. If Barnacle returns, they're going to get one shot by a Grass Knot. Out comes Barnacle. The opponent doesn't make a catch. They're going to be straight in and straight out. Foongus picks up that one-hit KO, and out comes Skrelp. We've still got a shield to hide behind, so this should be a pretty simple endgame. I could just undertap the Grass Knot here. However, as I'm a potato, we're going to fire off one more Astonish and the Body Slam, regardless of which move I throw. Body Slam will pick up the knockout, and we take that game. The Little Element Cup only allows 3 typings, Water, Fire and Grass, but for some reason whenever I saw this Skrelp, which we're seeing on my screen right now, I seem to think they'd resist Grass because of course Dragalge does, but it will look for neutral as Water of course will take super effective and Poison will resist. If Skrelp did have the same typing as Dragalge, it would be ineligible because a Dragon Poison type wouldn't be allowed. That shows you just how much attention I've paid to this meta. The opponent fired off the Sludge Bomb. I fire off yet another Sludge Bomb. We go 2 for 2, correctly invest in Protect Shields. We're now down both Protect Shields, but have all the energy in the world. Out comes Shadow Barboach. You better believe a huge energy. I'm forcing the Grass Knot. Grass Knot picks up that one-hit KO, and out comes Barnacle. I'm going to full send the Grass Knot. Potentially if I would have baited, I could have reached a Body Slam plus Grass Knot. Unfortunately, we're unable to do that, and it looks like that was the correct play, as we wouldn't have reached another move anyway, as we didn't have the energy for the Body Slam when we died. I send out Lileep, try to catch the cross chop onto Ducklett, catch attempt unsuccessful, and this endgame is going to get somewhat dicey. Ancient Power picks up the knockout. Cross chop will be super effective, but it doesn't get the same type attack bonus. We're able to survive one All we need to do is reach the Ancient Power. Ancient Power hits for neutral, and in the Little Cup is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we lead Ducklett into Skrelp. So Skrelp's going to take 7 to get to the Sludge Bombs. With that in mind, we can always outpace the Aerial Ace. This can only be an Aqua Tail, as they're thrown on 6. We're going to tank the damage, fire off our Aerial Ace, and then make the pivot into Foongus. The opponent might actually look to shield this. It looks like the opponent's just going to try and cheese their way through this opening matchup and force alignment in the back. I mean, they had the opportunity to bring in a counter for a grass type. They send out Wooper, which bamboozled me. We fire off the grass knot. Wooper straight in and straight out. That had to be a misclick. You can't be this weak to a Foongus. Surely not. As I've got 2 shields, I think in Little Cup it's important to actually use them rather than die with them. So we're going to shield up the move. Despite me knowing it's an Aqua Tail, we're going to farm up, fire off the Body Slam. Body Slam removes Skrelp from the field of play, and out comes the Mini Lorantus. We're still not done with this Foongus. Foongus running rampant, reaching the Body Slam. Body Slam forced the final protection. We pivot into Ducklett, just looking to force the energy. The opponent, of course, could never Fury Cut a farm down a flyer. They're going to fire off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade picks up the knockout. We can just send out Lileep. We're going to be able to Acid Farm down and take that game. In the next battle, we've got some Ducklett onto Barnacle action. You love to see it. You don't really, but it kind of is what it is. There's all of about 10 Pokemon in this meta. The opponent continuing to farm up, so we're just going to force in the Brave Bird. Look to get this thing out of here. Brave Bird, unfortunately, forced the Protect Shield, but we're still able to make the catch onto our Foongus. Despite the opponent having all the energy in the world, this happens to be one of them opponent that was going for a cheeky masturbating session. Not only does Ducklett resist fighting, Foongus does as well, meaning that cross chop did not do much of anything. The opponent then enters the mirror. They're going to fire off a Body Slam, and this works out perfectly for me. At worst, they're only going to reach a Body Slam at my return in Dark. Whilst I do think in Little Cup, you kind of need to shield everything, or at least use your shield. I'm not going to shield this Body Slam. Recognise an Ancient Power, of course, will do more. The opponent still has a lot of residual energy good to go. We tank the Body Slam, get the Wing Attack farm down. Out comes Barnacle. I go for one of the move, which should be good timing. I didn't see a Mud Slap, and that ends up being CMP. I'm not entirely sure how that works. We're just going to say whatever and put it all on the lead. Lileep will be having to give up some of them Protect Shields. I might even try and double shield here and Acid Farm down a Rock type. This is Little Cup. It might be resisted, but everything does a lot. You can see these Acids don't look all that resisted. I actually do go for the attempted Acid Farm down. Is that the correct play? I'm not sure, but we try it anyway. The opponent pivots out into the Pumpkin. We fire off the Ancient Power. I'm going to overfarm as much as I physically can, firing off the next Ancient Power, giving me the best chance to reach the move at the return in Barnacle. We are so low. Can we reach the move? Yes, we can. Just about. Holy cow. Bit of a scuffed end game, but we're able to get over the line. GG's to that opponent. That battle reminded me of some of the early days when I used to post content. Back when Altaria was common, the amount of times I tried to mudshot farm down an Altaria with a Swampert was ridiculous. Returning to the commentary without getting too distracted, we find ourselves a fantastic lead. The opponent say switches into Ducklett, and this time I react quick enough to fire off the Ancient Power before they reach the Brave Bird. We correctly shot the Brave Bird, Acid Farm down. Back out comes the Pumpkin. You can see there, forced overtap. What is that? This game was so laggy and so buggy, hence I'm playing this nonsense meta because the game just doesn't work as intended. I remember this battle. This was definitely one of the worst as well. We send out Ducklett, get one turn bring in, and denied our wing attack. It's all kind of going wrong here. We correctly shot the grass knot. The opponent sends out Chinchou, and here comes Foongus. A battle like this should be a pretty straightforward, essentially RPS for the dub. However, a few glitches, these battles become far closer than you'd like. The opponent full send the Thunderbolt, we return fire with the Body Slam, the opponent saving that final Protect Shield for the Pumpkin. I think that's a huge mistake because I'm just going to commit to quick moves. 3 Astonishes put them into wing attack range and we're able to take that game. Shout out Scopely, you've made such a fantastic game, I cannot fault it. That of course is a joke, fix this garbage game. In the next battle, we see another Barnacle in the lead position. I think this thing, without a doubt, is probably the most common lead in the meta right now. I say right now, I haven't played since Friday, so who even knows what's going on? I'm actually going for an Aerial Ace bait here, because everyone shielded the Brave Bird. Thankfully, my bait doesn't get called. We then bank a boatload of energy and make the catch and the sneak onto our Foongus, as we always like to do, and we see Barnacle in the lead position. The opponent sends out Tentacle, so this is likely that team we saw earlier in the video with Ducklett in the back. If that's the case, all I want to do here is just get some chip on this Tentacle. Hence I go for the Body Slam without even building up to the Grass Knot. Body Slam, able to land, getting Tentacle in a range where I can just wing attack, farm them down and leave with all the energy in the world. The opponent can fire off a wrap simply won't cut it. Ducklett going to leave well past a Brave Bird, almost at 100 energy. So if Binacle returns or Ducklett returns, either one's going to get Brave Birded. The opponent sends out Binacle, we force in the Brave Bird picks up the knockout, we bank the Aerial Ace, make the pivot into Lileep, and this game is signed, sealed and delivered. One of these Ancient Powers will be landing. We're in the 1-to-1 shield, the opponent shield the first, we don't get the boost. The only lose con is tanking a Brave Bird to the face, but there is no chance I'm not shielding this move. The opponent forcing the Brave Bird, recognise they cannot win the battle, and we take that game. In the next battle, we've got yet more duck-on-duck action. I fancy my chance at winning CMP. And once again, we're just going to full send the nuke. Hoping the opponent looks to call the bait. Brave Bird! Boo. Go shielded. We are going to survive an Aerial Ace, even with harshly lowered defense. We're going to tank the damage and make the pivot this time into Lileep. I could have went straight for the Ancient Power, winning CMP. But I don't really see the point in dumping energy immediately. Instead, I'm just going to look to overfarm. The opponent pivots into Binacle. We're in the 1-to-1 shield. I full send the Grass Knot. The opponent recognises I'm not a fan of baiting and correctly shield it up. However, this Binacle still getting one shot. We've got a shield to hide behind. I'm going to shield up the cross chop. And they're only going to fire off 2 acids. And that's intentional. I don't want to take the Mud Slap. Grass Knot picks up that 1-hit KO. Get that Binacle off my screen. Lileep, still not done. Send back out that Duck Trainer. Back out comes Ducklett, and Ducklett also going to fall victim of yet another Lileep boom. Ancient Power picks up the knockout. Oh man, it's another Mud Slapper. Foongus should be pretty good here. However, the Mud Slaps do hit for neutral, and the opponent has got an energy lead. I'm going to send out Foongus, farm up, make the catch, back onto the low health Duck. Was it necessary? Super necessary. We catch the Mud Bomb, which means we're going to have to fire off the Grass Knot. Body Slam probably would have got the job done, but we're going to fire off yet another nuke and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Skrelp in the lead position. So we're going to go straight for the Aerial Ace. The opponent throw before I reach the Aerial Ace. We know it can only be an Aqua Tail. We fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace, force to protect shield. We make the pivot into Foongus. Most of full center Sludge Bomb. Are we going to correctly shield it up, or do we get baited? We get baited with an Aqua Tail, which is kind of savage. Again, this could be a Sludge Bomb. No! Trainer, I've got a family. We get baited twice. With that in mind, I'm returning the favour. This Trainer is a savage. We fire off the Body Slam bait. Look to reach the Grass Knot, but actually lose CMP. This is an IV dependent CMP type. This opponent has huge balls, putting faith in their Binacle, winning that charge attack priority. I'm running an attack weighted Foongus as well, so that's kind of savage. We farm up. We're able to make the catch, back onto Ducklett, potentially getting ourselves back in the game. Cross chop doesn't do much of anything, but the opponent is going to be able to outpace to an Ancient Power. I think my win con is going to be once again trying to acid farm down a rock type. Is it possible? Let's find out. Unfortunately, the opponent survives on fractional HP, and this one is going to end in heartbreaking defeat with so many poor defenseless cats losing their life to both trainers' masturbating habits. Heading into the next battle. We've got some more duck-on-duck action. We haven't lost CMP to this point in the video. However, we're not even going to find out who's got a higher attack as the opponent goes straight for an Aerial Ace. Recognising Shadow and Shadow Crime, Aerial Ace will do a lot. You know what would even more? The Brave Bird. Brave Bird! Boo. Force the Protect Shield to make the pivot into our Shadow Lileep. I am going to invest 1 Protection and look just keep farming up on energy. The opponent fire off the Ancient Power, then enter the Mirror. Grass Knot, of course, would objectively more than an Ancient Power. We're in the 1-to-1 shield. Once again, we force in the nuke, and this time it is able to land. Ducklett's energy dry, so I'm more than happy to invest a Protect Shield and look to just keep rolling with Lileep. Invest a Protect Shield, acid farms down, and out comes the Pumpkin. The Pumpkin going to be greeted with the Ancient Power. Ancient Power goes unshielded. I'm just going to stay in. We're actually able to reach another Ancient Power. I was going to concede a farm down, but we should be forcing the final protection of the game, and we do exactly that. Foongus can survive a foul play, so we're going to send out Foongus. With an energy lead, we should outpace to a Body Slam on the returning Duck. The opponent banked their energy. We snipe with a wing attack. The opponent take 1 further wing attack, putting them in a range of 1 Astonish will be lethal, and we aren't in foul play range, so this one is going to end in victory. GG's to that opponent. That was more or less a mirror team, with the only difference being I had Foongus, they had Pumpkins. If you want to run this team and don't have a Shadow Amoonguss, you can run Pumpkin, it will do exactly the same job. In the next battle, we see a fantastic lead. And I remember this battle because I think this is the worst I ever played with this team. I think here I should either throw or make the catch onto Foongus. I attempt to farm down, thinking after I snuck a wing attack, the farm down would be feasible and the opponent actually able to get there. So despite seeing a commanding lead, I've managed to go down both Protect Shields, which is certainly a huge potato play. We pivot into Foongus, out comes Barnacle, we're able to successfully get the body slam bait. And at this point, we just go straight body slam, wanting to get off any damage we physically can. And as you can tell, like I said previously, in this matchup, you usually win CMP, as you can see in this example here. Foongus has certainly put this thing into Aerial Ace range, so I can send out Ducklett for a one wing attack and the first Aerial Ace, which should be good timing, but we got one turn bring in, so the opponent ends up sneaking. Honestly, this game's frustrating at times. We look to fire off the next Aerial Ace, the opponent makes the catch back onto Chinchou, but switch lock it in the process. We're going to make the pivot into Lileep, and sometimes alignment is all you need. I just need to ensure I've got residual energy good to go. We're going to tank a Bubble Beam, which is no problem whatsoever. Rather than throw too hastily, we're going to overfarm, farming up very close to the double Ancient Power. One Ancient Power, even debuffed, will be moving Chinchou from the field of play. Back out comes Barnacle. Barnacle is going to fire off its energy, but at this point they're just going to die to the wing attacks. Cross chop picks up the knockup. Back out comes Ducklett with wing attack farm down the rock type and are able to emerge victorious. In the next battle we see Foongus in the lead position. The opponent opts to stay in, which is certainly a decision. We're going to fire off the Aerial Ace, force to Protect Shield. You can see here the opponent pause. This could be a Grass Knot, I will respect it. The opponent throw the body slam bait. Nice bait on their opponent's part. But we know they're going to go straight body slam at this point. So we are going to catch onto the leap that does resist normal type damage. The opponent going to stay in. Look to rebank a body slam before sending out Ducklett. And that is certainly a decision. Giving our rock type a huge energy lead and then sending out your flyer. Ancient Power really not known for its damage output. But in the Little Cup, everything hits hard. And a super effective move puts them into the red health range. The opponent then fire off the Bubble Beam. Why would you Bubble Beam there? I have no idea. Lileep able to farm down and out comes Chinchou. And this game is signed, sealed and delivered. We send out Foongus. Thunderbolt, of course, is the correct move to throw. Despite being resisted, it does do objectively more. The opponent very horny for the debuff. Fire off the Bubble Beam. We're going to farm up. Look to catch the Thunderbolt. Back onto our Duck. Is it necessary? It's super necessary. This time we correctly catch the nuke. Probably the only nuke this opponent's thrown in their entire life. We're going to Astonish farm down everything and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we've got another Duck Mirror. I think here you should probably bait. I always YOLO the nuke. It always goes shielded. This opponent doesn't play to CMP, which is kind of nice, meaning I can reset that debuff and catch onto Lileep. As we're debuffed, they're definitely not Brave Birding. So we tank the Aerial Ace and let's see what the opponent wants to do. Looks like they want to at least get shield parity before potentially pivoting out into something that does a decent job of soaking this Lileep energy. Out comes Barnacle. We full send the Grass Knot. Once again, Grass Knot does go shielded. The opponent does look to dump energy. Worried we're going to reach Grass Knot number 2. I personally don't think we get there, but we're not complaining. This is probably another double mud slap team, or at least a double ground team. So what I'm going to do is send out Foongus, farm up, sack Ducklett. You can see there we got one turn bring in. So not only do we not catch, we're forced to burn the final protection. We don't even sneak and Astonish in the process either. We then attempt the catch attempt unsuccessful. The opponent pivots out into their own Duck, clearly the same idea as sacking it. We fire off the Aerial Ace removes the opposing Duck from the field of play. It is a double mud slap team. The opponent goes straight for a charge move. This is fine for me. Ducklett has done its job. We've got all the energy in the world. I'm just going to farm up to the double Grass Knot. Grass Knot will be removing them from the field of play. We've got the next one locked and loaded. We're able to win the charge attack priority and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see another Ducklett mirror. All my Brave Birds are going shielded. Let's see if I've learnt my lesson and go for a cheeky Aerial Ace bait. We farm to the Brave Bird and actually do go for the Aerial Ace. Watch this get called. Thankfully, we're able to force the protection. If opponent want to Brave Bird me, be my guest. No one else has. And this opponent actually Bubble Beam bait. Okay. This can only be a Bubble Beam or Aerial Ace. Enjoy yourself, trainer. This opponent is so horny for them debuffs, man. Yet another Bubble Beam before sending out Foongus. Foongus going to be greeted with the Ancient Power, even at -1, doing some very solid damage. We're able to reach the second Ancient Power. This will be forcing a Protect Shield or knocking out the opponent. Invest that Protection and fully astonish Farmers down. We have now got a 2 to no shield advantage. We do survive a body slam on our Foongus, but potentially the opponent might even blind Grass Knot. So we're going to tank the first move. Let's see what they throw. Grass Knot, double resisted. Oof, the opponent's in shambles. We're going to shield at the body slam. The opponent then pivots back out into Ducklett. We waste no time, fire off the Grass Knot and look to get this thing off the field of play. Grass Knot picks up the knockout. The opponent send out the Pumpkin. We pivot into Ducklett, look to fire off the Aerial Ace, but lose CMP. I'm going to just shield this up. Return fire with the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace, an absolutely garbage move, but when super effective, going to get the job done. We're going to wing attack farm down Foongus and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Barnacle in the lead position. Let's see if this opponent are going to force in the Ancient Power, or am I going to get cross-chop baited like a savage? We always respect it. Hopefully we don't get cross-chop baited. Thankfully, they force in the Ancient Power, so we're going to return the favour, force into the Brave Bird. Brave Bird goes unshielded, picking up that one-hit KO, and out comes Seal. Once again, we're going to farm to the Brave Bird, fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace gives us shield parity, and we're then able to catch an Aqua Tail onto Foongus, which is best case scenario. The opponent then enters the mirror. They've got the health advantage, but we've got an energy lead. We're going to go straight for the body slam. Potentially, I could have looked to throw on CMP, anticipating winning that charge attack priority, but it's kind of neither here nor there. The opponent forced to dump energy. Body slam picks up the knockout. I'm just going to send out Lileep. They're only going to reach a body slam if they reach anything at all. They don't even reach that. We get an energy lead. The opponent sends out Seal. They recognise the game's over, and they concede the match. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's Shoutcast. I'll be honest, I had about 10 more battles, but this video is already 32 minutes long, and there's probably no one watching at this point. Even I'm bored of Shoutcast and the Little Element Cup. However, you're looking for a strong team, you want to get some wins quickly, look no further. This one is phenomenal. Had great success for me personally. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, link to my battles feature form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.